be made. So our projected target date is going to be a little later in September, because we are going to have a major function there that day, and we're going to tie a lot of really entertainment kind of issues with that opening. And I know y'all been going by and checking it and everything, and I hope you're as proud as I am. I received copies today. I should have brought one in maybe, but I don't want to get too far ahead of things, of the Ashland Sculptors book that's been published. And Hannes sent me copies. I don't know who else got copies. Manager, council, to get them. I'm sure there will be forthcoming to the commissioners. It's an unbelievable book. Tell you what, I'm going to go get it. Sorry, Jeremy, you're going to have to get a close-up of this. I got it handy here.
Like there should be theme music or something.
So there I was in a bar.
No inappropriate.
Don't go there.
I'm back. You know, all of you met Hannes and heard of him and all that. The book,
it is nice.
The book itself is a work of art. And I know where a whole lot of friends of mine are going to get their Christmas presents this Christmas through this book. It's unbelievably done. I mean, the pictures of him at work, and there's a lot of written word in here from me, these two, everybody, the main players in putting these sculptures together and up, including Francisco, his son. It shows him working over in China as they were putting this together. It's typical of Hannes Pagan to do a book like this. And it's Vulcan, Venus, and Genesis, Ashland, Kentucky sculptures. This book will be all over the world. This book will be in museums and places, bookstores, places. As you know, they're the largest group, 3 anywhere Hannes is in the world, certainly in America. And Venus happens to be the largest female figure ever sculpted and placed. And there's a little note under that particular statement of picture that says, in case you're thinking the Statue of Liberty is not a mythical god or goddess. And he does such a great job explaining in the book. I don't need to have my back to you guys.
That's okay.
Explain in the book that the mythical gods are on about everything and everywhere throughout things we do daily, including the dollar bill. But he does a great explanation here of, you know, what we emphasize the mythical part, but they represent parts of history, parts of time, and our particular statues. He so accurately and effectively explains why he chose each of these statues. And we've talked about it so many times, certainly the night that we dedicated them, of Vulcan representing the work ethic, the workers from Ashland, Kentucky that built our town and continue to build our town. And that Venus represents the beauty of our area, which these things came to him as soon as he visited here the first time. The beauty of Ashland, our area, the beauty of the people here, and our commitment to take care of the environment. So, and obviously the tallest statue being Genesis, because of his strong Christian faith and his strong belief in God. He put that as the pinnacle sculpture, the standout. And it shows him working on these from start to finish. And you can only fathom the artistic talent that he and the help of Francisco provided I couldn't be more proud as the mayor of Ashland to have been part of this, as you all were, of one of the greatest things that we could have brought to Ashland. At basically no expense to our citizens. And from a benefactor who, believe it or not, there's a picture in here, you may not know him, you probably don't know him, so there are a lot of pictures in here of people involved in this and throughout the whole process. But it's just one of those wonderful coffee table books that people will have forever in their homes. And they'll be all over the world about Ashland, Kentucky. So I just received these today, only a couple. He remembered my daughters and he sent them pictures too, because Stephanie, he put a lot of her pictures that she took during this process in this book. I did send him my thanks and my, unexplainable gratitude for how he put this book together. I don't know the marketing for our area yet, for the state of Kentucky or the region or whatever the case may be, but hopefully, and our hometown TV is getting this first, that hopefully we'll be marketed things for him, in our tourism office, hopefully the museum, hopefully Jesse Stewart Foundation. I haven't talked to any of them, but I would certainly think that they would sure like to have something like this representing the city of Ashland. So I wanted you all to see it first. Here you are. If you hadn't been here today, you sure can. Now you got to pay attention to the ordinances and all that we're doing. But I know you're all proud, commissioners, and as the manager and the city staff that was involved in this also. Steve Cole came in, but just the right time, Mr. Cole, to help really oversee this. Your efforts are deeply appreciated, you and your staff. As we're dead, we really appreciate what you all been doing at Broadway Square, and we'll kind of spouse on that at a little later date, but with some great things that have been developed for the citizens of Ashland for posterity. Okay, Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I did want to cover something that we had talked about that the elected officials are very aware of, and that was some challenges we had recently at the water treatment plant. I've got some pictures up here to kind of demonstrate what had happened. A couple weeks ago, I'd come to you all very excited about the fact that the new AWI filters have been in place in filter 3, how we were very excited to get those running. When we went through the initial test, the numbers weren't, they didn't indicate what should have been indicated. And that caused us to do some research, and we discovered that we had a caustic buildup, which is a chemical that's used to treat water along with chlorine and fluoride. This buildup had occurred in our lines in the plant, the best estimate that we had from the beginning of this plant in the 1950s. The picture that you're looking at right there is Mark Hall, a local diver that was helping us. But where his left hand is, that's a 30-inch tube that's coming from filters 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the caustic buildup started right at that location and basically reduced that 30-inch tube to less than half its capacity. That wasn't the worst part. As you see below Mark's hand is another 30-inch tube that goes down to a split, and that tube on the bottom, right around Mark's abdomen, goes to two clear wells. It reduces to a 24-inch valve or 24-inch tube, and along both of those to the clear well is a valve on each side, and the valve on both sides had closed down to practically nothing. That was expedited. We think the closure of that valve was expedited over the last couple of weeks when filter 3, or the weeks prior to us putting in the AWI filters. So that was the challenge. What I just mentioned a few minutes ago is where that split off into the 24-inch valve. We had to have an outside contractor come in, cut into the valve. You see a little bit of the caustic buildup there, and then remove that piece of metal, which you can see both on the left is the initial cut, and then with it fully removed is on the right-hand side. And again, this was done simultaneously. As we're looking at it, this is the right-hand side, it was done on the left-hand side. The picture to your left is the left-hand side with that spool totally removed. The gentleman you see in that picture, and I'm going to recognize them all here in a second, but that's Jonathan Waddell, Jeff Burchett, and Chris Lambert. These gentlemen they don't work at the water treatment plant. They volunteered to come in and remove that caustic. We have two maintainers who are also here today, Jeff Camp and LJ Moore. And because time was of the essence, we need to have crews working essentially around the clock removing this caustic, so that when we took that line out, as I showed in the previous picture, when they met this cut and they removed that portion of the pipe, time was of the essence. And LJ and Jeff couldn't have worked any harder. We asked for volunteers, and I want to point out that Jonathan, Jeff, and Chris, all three volunteered from the water distribution plant, and they all did some back-breaking, very tough work. I'm not sure how that got in there. Some beautiful baby. Anyway, this was the solution, and what this is this a polymer pipe that was installed. For the sake of time, we had to put in this polymer solution. Our long-term, we do not have the valves reinstalled. For the sake of time and the risk to the water system, we needed to put the polymer in. We do have the valves on hand. We're going to replace this eventually with a steel product, which was the original design, and put the valves back in. But it was just something that it was really a heck of an effort by a lot of people involved. And if you would, when I call your name, if you would just raise your hand so folks know who is involved in this. First off, Steve Cole, city engineer. Mark Hall, our director of utilities. Bill Stambaugh, the water treatment plant superintendent. Frank Worsley, the water treatment plant chief operator. Jeff Camp, water treatment plant maintenance. LJ Moore, also water treatment plant maintenance. Jonathan Waddell, who's a water distribution crew leader. Jeff Burchett, a water distribution equipment operator. And Chris Lambert, a water distribution equipment operator. I'm sorry, operator, Chris. So when I was showing this to somebody, they had made a comment about, well, you know, isn't that their job? And I said, well, no, this is really above and beyond. And what these folks did to make this happen was just astronomical. I know a few of you had had opportunity to go down there and look and see the challenge, but I just thought it was really important what they did behind the scenes to get this up, to ensure that our city had good, clean water, continued to have clean water, was just really above and beyond the call of duty, and I wanted to recognize that.
I appreciate that, and I know the commissioners, you know, several of us were up there, and Mark and your staff, Steve, the work they've done is unbelievable, saved us countless thousands of dollars, I know, just from your earnest work. But what we dealt with up there was, I'm just going to say, a minimum of 75 years of buildup, possibly more. And it's kind of the necessary evil of using chemicals to treat the water out of the river to make it safe. And we probably have, we still have a state-of-the-art system, and it's probably even more so now because we're replacing all the filtration system with the very latest that you could possibly utilize. And just a few years ago, we thought that happened and found out after a few years that it didn't even hold up. So the kind of system we have now is of a build and how it fits in and all, which it's amazing once you go up there and see this stuff going on and what they're doing. And probably, you know, unhesitatingly, I say, you guys are dealing with probably the most important thing going on in the city every day. Now, I tell police that, firemen that, for safety and all that, and I mean it, but people drink that water every day. They wash clothes, they've got it on, they take a bath, they take a shower. If it isn't 100% safe every day, we have a serious health problem. And I know you guys have got family here, so it's even vitally important to you as the guys working there. But lest you ever think that, it's kind of like I tell our public safety people, you don't think much about them until you have a real problem. We have a lot of water line breaks, or we say you got to boil water for a week or whatever the case may be, and you don't think about the people working within the city in different areas because we take it for granted. The people in Ashland take water for granted. You go to many, many places, including communities that you would think would have great water pressure, great water. That's not the case. But small town Ashland has always prided itself in the best utility department you could possibly have. And we're a regional supplier. I'm not sure about the square miles at all, but we go well past Marathon, and we got other ancillary water districts and all using our water, the Russell, all that. But they expect to get the best water too. That's why they get it from us. So you guys every day, you probably don't give it a thought either, because you just as a usual routine, go in and do the things you do to treat the water, to make sure the filters are doing everything they do. And we're glad that it is a routine thing for you. But what you did here certainly wasn't routine. And I'm sure that far and beyond your retirements up there, people will be blessed with the fact you did this work now. And we certainly appreciate the additional effort and the volunteers that dealing with dangerous buildup. And I know you were told that, but this is very caustic stuff to breathe, get on you, whatever the case may be. And those guys jumped to the front and said, we'll take it on. So manager, you were on it up there every day. Appreciate you and everybody else for the work you did on it.
I want to say, Mayor, that I was up there in the basement, and I passed the hospital day that says heroes work here. But when I was in the basement that day, it was hot, dirty, time-sensitive work that was crucial to the flow of our water system. I worked at the Gray Iron Foundry 5 blocks from here every morning with a chipping hammer for 20 years and knocked concrete out of ingot molds. This was kind of the similar work you were doing right here. So I know how hard it was, and I appreciate you guys. I just want to let you know.
And Mayor, I also want to echo your sentiments. I've never felt better about the quality of the water that we are producing based on the investments we are making in our infrastructure. I think it's critical that we all came on board with that being a focus, and we emphasize that to you, City Manager, and you've made it the focus, and I appreciate that, and I know our citizens appreciate that. We have a lot of work to do and a lot of money yet to spend to get us where we want to be, but I really do want to commend you and all of you all for the work you're doing. It's a huge difference in a short amount of time, and I really appreciate it.
Commissioner, thank you. And I was going to say that. You all made the commitment to that with the water line replacement, with the SCADA that's going on down there. It's coming along. This one, it was a curveball. We did not expect it. I just want to throw a number at you. Filters 5 and 6, which were the filters that were put in 2005, have a deeper driving head. They've been we call them the workhorses. They call them the workhorses. After this line was cleared by the folks that all had a hand in this room, at the beginning of the cycle, one filter was capable of producing 5 million gallons a day. On average, we produce for this community 8 to 11 million gallons a day. One filter with the new AWI filters is doing 5 million gallons a day. So there's still going to be other limitations as far as pipe sizes and a lot of other factors that, if you want to know, these guys can tell you about. We did have, as part of the agreed order, we had to do the capacity study, which is coming. We'll know when all these filters get replaced, when we get the work done that I've described, what we're capable of producing, and it's going to be fantastic. And you talk about the ability to do economic growth. Mayor, to your point on being a regional water supplier, we've always known the quality. Now the capacity is going to be there too. So I wanted to thank you all for making that commitment, because I know it was not necessarily an easy decision given all of the challenges we've had with pension and COVID. But you all made that call, and I know the citizens appreciate that. So thank you.
Thanks, Manager.
I just have one comment
Yeah,
before
sure.
we move forward, just to say thank you again and echo what has been said by everyone else. But I think to the volunteers, what you did speaks to the overall culture of the employees of the city of Ashland. It's not a paycheck. It's not getting up and showing up for work. It's a responsibility to the city of Ashland and its people, and I appreciate that more than you will know. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you,
Great.
guys.
Mr. Hall, thank you for your leadership up there. You guys go back to work now. I could see you real nervous about just sitting around. You're excused to go. Thanks again. Just keep your eye on it up there, Bill, at the plant. Just keep your eye on things, Frank. Don't let anything get out of whack on us again. Thanks, guys.
Mayor, I had one other comment, and that is when we get to consent agenda, you're going to see that we've been awarded a over $400,000 grant for a fire truck. There's some other grants. The city staff is trying to go to every well we can to find what I lovingly refer to as OPM, other people's money. And this was an example where really the fire department didn't have high hopes for getting this grant. They went through the process and they got it. And I just wanted to mention that to the hard work of the fire department, the finance department, Michelle Grubb, everybody's helping with these, trying to get these grants. It's coming to fruition, and we're seeing some of that money. So now more than ever, it's critical for us.
Thanks, Manager. Anything else, Commission? Old business item A.
Second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a project services agreement between the City of Ashland, Kentucky and Assureco Risk Management and Regulatory Compliance, LLC, DBA Municipal H2O, to complete a risk and resilience assessment and develop an emergency response plan for the city's water system in the amount of $34,000 for the Department of Utilities.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item B.
Second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and approving change order number 6 between the City of Ashland, Kentucky and Debcon, Inc., increasing the contract amount by $54,162 and 28 calendar days regarding the 16th Street Plaza renovation project for the Department of Engineering.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item C.
Second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a school resource officer agreement between the City of Ashland, Kentucky and the Ashland Independent School District Board of Education for the term July 1, 2020 to June 30, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Item D.
Second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky, amending the authorized positions list of the Policies and Procedures Compensation Plan and Classification Plan as adopted by ordinance number 51, series of 2017, as previously amended.
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item F.
We skipped E.
I'm sorry.
Second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky, prohibiting the operation of golf carts, utility vehicles, and all-terrain vehicles on all public roadways, streets, and highways within the City of Ashland.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Could I just have a brief, I've had a lot of calls about this, Counselor. Just a brief explanation, just the cliff notes of this ordinance that we're about to pass here.
Well, I think the cliff notes of it is we had some controversy about whether or not these things were prohibited by state law. The police department and legal department believed they were, but just to take out any question about it, we propose the adoption of this ordinance. There's exceptions in it that would allow the use of those type of vehicles by the police department or City of Ashland employees, and also on any authorized festivals that the Board of Commissioners has authorized, then within those festivals that they can use those. And it's primarily a safety issue. These types of vehicles are not generally for use on public roadways. And although there is some types of these vehicles can be approved for usage, that requires a series of inspections and insurance and a lot of things that we're not set up to do. And really, overall, it's a safety issue in our opinion, legal department and I think the police department.
Well, I just had a couple calls, more people that I realized had these in their garages and have used those, and so they just wanted clarified, so thank you very much.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. Item F.
Second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky renaming Judd Plaza located at the corner of 16th Street, formerly Broadway, and Winchester Avenue as Broadway Square. That's
You do
twice.
that every
Yeah, that's
time.
twice. And repealing ordinance number 140, series of 1990.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item G,
Second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky, naming the area located between 13th Street and 18th Street and from Greenup Avenue to Cardew Avenue, the district, as recommended by Destination Ashland.
So moved.
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item H,
Second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute an agreement between the City of Ashland, Kentucky and Kentucky Power Company regarding the leasing of parking spaces on the west side of 17th Street between Winchester Avenue and the alley running parallel to Winchester Avenue and Greenup Avenue from 16th Street to 17th Street.
So moved.
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
Item I,
Second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky, amending ordinance number 55, series of 2009, previously amended by ordinance number 45, series of 2010, ordinance number 77, series of 2014, ordinance number 81, series of 2018, and ordinance number 10, series of 2020, commonly known and referred to as the loading zone ordinance, amending the legal description of the loading zone located in the 1500 block of Carter Avenue.
So moved.
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item J,
Second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky, designating a handicapped parking space on the north side of Carter Avenue in the 1500 block at the intersection of Carter Avenue and 16th Street, and providing a penalty for the violation of this ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Consent agenda,
A resolution of the City of Ashland, Kentucky adopting, authorizing, and approving the course of action presented by the city manager on the items appearing on the consent agenda for the special regular meeting of the Board of City Commissioners of August 27, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. New business, item A,
First reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute an agreement with Safe Harbor of Northeast Kentucky LLC, the subrecipient of $12,000 from the 2019 program year Community Development Block Grant CV funds.
So moved.
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Item B,
First reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute an agreement with Safe Harbor of Northeast Kentucky, Inc., the subrecipient of $20,000 from the 2020 program year Community Development Block Grant.
So moved.
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Item C,
First reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky, accepting the proposal of Howardton Engineering and Surveying PLLC for professional services in the amount of $32,000 for engineering services for construction, observation, and reporting services for the DeBoard Terrace Sidewalk, Stairs, and Handrail Project, and authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract for said services for the Department of Community and Economic Development block grant funds.
So moved.
have a second?
I have to abstain.
We can't, Bernice and I
Oh, you
cannot.
can.
I'll second. I'll
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Well, actually,
I'm sorry.
I do have, so Mayor, just to make you and Commissioner Henry and Commissioner Good aware, we discussed this project in our capital projects committee last week, and we had a pretty good discussion about funding and asking for help from the Ashland Housing Authority in regards to completing this project. The city's providing significant resources from the CDBG funds to do this, and we did ask softly, but we did ask for consideration, and I don't know where we are with that, but if you look in the fiscal note, it does say that there will be a potential contribution from the Ashland Housing Authority.
We discussed this in the Housing Authority meeting on Tuesday, and they are contributing $100,000 toward the project
Okay.
to finish it up.
Okay.
Great. Okay, thanks, Commissioner Perkins. All in favor?
I abstain.
Okay.
Sorry.
Item D,
First reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and approving change order number 3 between the City of Ashland, Kentucky and Frederick and May Construction Company, Inc. regarding their contract for the Pollard Mills Drainage Improvement Project, increasing the contract amount by $41,313, $21,428.50 paid by Community Development Block Grant Funds, and $19,884.50 paid by the Utility Fund for the Department of Community and Economic Development.
So moved.
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Item E,
First reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky adopting the revised job description for the positions of Public Service Officer 3 and Administrative Assistant in the Department of Police and amending the authorized positions to reflect said changes of the policies and procedures, compensation plan, and classification plan as adopted by ordinance number 51, series of 2017, as previously amended.
So moved.
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Item F,
Reading and adoption of a municipal order entitled, a municipal order of the City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing the filing of a coronavirus relief fund application for reimbursement of incurred expenses and CRF funds with the Department for Local Government, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute any documents which are deemed necessary by DLG to reimburse the City of Ashland, and authorizing the mayor to act as the authorized correspondent for reimbursement.
So moved.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Anything else? Motion to adjourn.
Mayor,
Yes.
I got word in the middle of this meeting that longtime City of Ashland Planning Commission member Jim Powers passed away last night, so I would like to adjourn in his memory if we can do that.
I appreciate that. Jim Powers, some of you maybe not familiar with Jim, I can remember him as a small child playing in the park and watching Jim. I didn't know who he was at the time, walking towards the old library carrying books. Now, he's several years older than me. I don't know how much older. Jim says we're the same age anytime I was around him. He said, "Oh, Mayor, we're the same age." But I'm playing little baseball games, and he's carrying books to the library, and ended up having a career at the library. I was on the Board of Trustees for about 8 years. He was our library director, and he retired. We hired him back as just the records guy, and I think Commissioner Perkins and I have been in contact about what we lost with Jim's passing is probably the key historian on the City of Ashland at this point. And I don't know if we have very many left, but he, to me, I know when I was chairman of the park board, I depended on him a lot for things about Central Park that I needed to know, the park board needed to know, and obviously, while in office as a commissioner and a mayor too, I called on Jim many times about buildings, the value of them historically to us, what's the deal, and he normally would just roll right off, from him, how many businesses have been in that, he can name them. He just had that ability. That's what he was committed to his whole life, his library work. So I had not seen him in a while. He has been on our planning commission, very active, effective member of that, being protective of the city in particular with his background, which worked well with us. So Ashland lost a true icon of Ashland's history with his passing. I hope everybody will have a prayer for him and his family. Thank you, Commissioner. We adjourn in honor, or in memory of Jim Powers. And I always called him Professor, so I'll call him Professor Powers today. We're adjourned.